Howdy, and welcome back to the most unique show on the internet. Just a couple of white guys talking about fantasy football into their cell phones. This week in the Party Mansion, we'll review those Week 4 scores, which were much higher overall this week, and then we'll discuss about what we think about things moving forward. But first, let's jump into our first matchup and congratulate our high score of the week, Wildcard Bitches. And this week, Wildcard Bitches whooped my ass, Boyle Denham, by a score of 157.62 to 91.6. A couple of the highlights of this matchup obviously was JJ being the high scorer with 157.62 points. I believe that's our highest score in the league so far this year. And individual performers include Austin Eckler with 28.9 points, TJ Hawkinson putting up a monster 31.9 points, because of course that's what you do with Jared Goff as your quarterback. And Josh Jacobs finally broke out with 29.5 points. On the other side, Derrick Henry finally is starting to look legit again with 20 points. And Devontae Smith did Devontae Smith things where he put up less than 2 points after a stellar performance last week. It was tough out there with all the rain in Philly, but at least I had the Eagles defense put up 17 points. Prescott, what do you think about this matchup?
I think that Wildcard Bitches has got one of the stoutest teams. They've got three top 10 running backs. They've got just so much depth at receiver. They have Josh Allen, who was traded to JJ by me. You're welcome. I'm great for deals. If you need something, maybe I'm heart and a running back, wide receiver. I don't know where my season's at. I just don't know what I'm going to do. Come see me. We'll work out a deal. But JJ, you have a great roster. You got a lot of good depth. It's a good thing that you can only keep four of them, bitch. And, it's going to be a tough four that you're going to be able to keep on this. But, Eckler's doing great. I think he's going to remain to do good stuff on that. Allen's always going to be Allen on that. TJ Hawkinson, you got real lucky with that one this week. He hasn't done dog shit this whole year that all of a sudden 31 points was just outstanding. He still has that John Dotson on the bench, which is great. He has that backup on Tua, but it'll be interesting to see what all goes on with Tua.
I think it's going to be a while before he plays again.
I agree. So maybe he's a Dolphins fan, so maybe he'll keep him, but maybe we see him drop this week. We'll see. But the cool thing is that JJ's got so much good depth that going into the bye weeks and such, I think he's going to be in a good position. He's just, again, 157 points in 1 week. He's just got a very good, very stout team. He's pretty safe. Looking at your team over here, Derrick Henry finally became just started looking more like Derrick Henry, and maybe that's because the Titans actually decided to run the damn ball. Herbert's going to be always consistent. Harris, look, it's been really, really rough for him. It's been really kind of down, but I think he's going to get better. I think the switch at QB here, I think there's going to be a little bit of time. I think he's going to get better. It does suck that Pickett went and stole those two rushing touchdowns inside the 5 from Harris.
Yeah, it felt very Jalen Hurts-esque right there.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. Devontae Adams is still just not doing what he was doing with Aaron Rodgers. I think he's really going to hate that. It's not the same team. It's not the same quarterback. He can say it's one Hall of Famer to another, but just no, it's not. Devontae Smith is always going to be your Achilles heel, man. I know you have the deep love for him, but
I know.
He's going to disappoint you. Amari Cooper finally had that typical Browns thing that I see. I was kind of waiting to see if that was going to happen. And, on your bench, you got Adam Thielen, who finally did something. I think Michael Carter's about to go to obscurity. I won't lie to you. And of course, Njoku had a down week. The Browns kind of had a down week in general, but it'll be interesting to see how that comes back. And I believe Brian Robinson's now active. I could be wrong, but I thought I saw a notification he's going to be active. So that might help out with just your flex in there, too.
Yeah, I picked up Brian Robinson a couple of weeks ago in hopes that he would come back at some point this season, and it seems like he's going to come back sooner than later. I doubt that he'll actually make an impact anytime soon to the point where I'm going to be starting him. But if I had to say one or two things, I'd have to say I'm really hoping Tiny Hands can help out Najee Harris. And I know I described Derek Carr as my worst enemy last week, and I want to put out a plea to unite our houses. Derek Carr, I know you were a little worse this week. Just throw the ball to Devontae Adams more. Just keep throwing it to him more. He's your best weapon. Stop throwing to other people. You guys keep losing. Just throw to him more. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You have, honestly, in my opinion, Devontae Adams is the best receiver. Cooper Kupp, obviously rivals. Jefferson, obviously rivals. But, he's literally one of the most key and best receivers in the league. Just throw it to him every time. Take a page out the Rams playbook. All they do is throw it to Kupp. And sometimes they don't always win, but Kupp gets great fantasy stats. And that's really what it's all about. So, just keep throwing it to him. That's all you have to do.
I also really like Tyler Higbee with how many targets. He hasn't put up a lot of touchdowns or anything yet, but I think he's a solid tight end start for the rest of the year. Enough about my garbage team, though. Let's move on to the second highest leading scorer in the league this week, which was your team, the Nightman Cometh, versus
Hmm.
the wrestling promo champion Pepe Silvia's Picks, and you won by a score of 143.98 to 71.46. Luckily for you this week, Russell Wilson finally started riding. Nick Chubb kept on riding like he has been. The rookie stud running back Damian Pierce finally broke out 19.9 points, and Mike Evans rejuvenated Tom Brady's cold heart with 22.3 points. And on the other side, it was a normal kind of performance for Patrick Mahomes, but the big story for Pepe Silvia's Picks was the 22.9 points for Jamal Williams that were left on the bench in favor of the 0 points for Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, bold move, Cotton. Bold move for sure. A lot of finally happened for me this past week. Finally, I got a win. Finally, Russell Wilson did Russell Wilson things. Finally, I got the two starting receivers right for me. I have just been sucking at picking which receiver is going to do well. Finally, I had a tight end that got a touchdown. Finally, Damian Pierce and Breece Hall are starting to get a little bit more comfortable. Breece Hall is starting to get a little bit more consistent. Damian Pierce is starting to do the same thing. My whole strategy going into this season was to get as many draft picks as I could and try to get a rookie running back that was going to do well. It's still a very, very long season. We're literally only a quarter into it, but it's nice to see that some of these things are going according to plan. It looks like ETN's going to be my guy that's not going to work out as well. We'll see how that works out, but it looks like just compared to Robinson, it's not going to do much there. But yeah, I mean, a lot of good things finally worked out. I had some good points on there. Next week's going to be serious. Like I said last week, you need 8 wins to be playoff, even really in the playoff hunt. And where I started off 0-3, which is a major step back, I really have to do. I don't have a lot of room for error. So each week's going to be a very much must-win situation on this. The matchup I'm going to have up with Marshall is going to be very, very tough, just because I think he's got just one of those teams where it could be all or nothing kind of deal. So it'll be very interesting to see that. But no, a lot of finally good things happened. Now going over to Billy, okay, the Kamara start sucks because that London game was so early that he was scheduled to play. He really was. He was scheduled to play. And then I think the game started at like something stupid, like 8 a.m. or something. A lot of people didn't get that right, and that really sucks. It's a shitty
I
thing.
didn't even realize that the game was on until halfway through it, so I
Yeah,
totally
most people did.
understand. I think it started at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern, maybe.
Okay,
I totally didn't even know, and I didn't even watch any of it. So
right. And obviously he should have had Jamal Williams. He's a top 5 running back. Why would you not have him in there? He's actually ranked 3rd now. So I mean, like he just keeps going up and up. And it's funny because for the first time this year, he actually switched his lineup. He must have got a notification that Brown was going to be out for this week, and so he decided to put Garrett Wilson in there. But he really didn't look at it, touch it up anymore. He is definitely the Taco over league where he just leaves the lineup and just kind of leaves it blank. But with Javonte Williams being out for the year with that torn ACL, that really sucks because, I mean, he had 3 keepers: Patrick Mahomes, Alvin Kamara, Javonte Williams. With Alvin Kamara being very, very inconsistent, and then now you have Javonte Williams who's going to be out for the year. You've got Patrick Mahomes, who he acquired from me, by the way. So, again, guys, I give good trades out there. I make good deals. I make your teams better.
sending out all the great quarterbacks.
I really do. I did very well with that last year. Um, you know, it's gonna be it's really he's in line for a rough season. Obviously, he still has these great guys on the bench that he needs to put in the lineup. Awkwardly enough, it's Detroit Lions who are these great players, which I think is so funny. But it's he's got an uphill battle. It's going to be very, very rough for him the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think one of the big things when you're looking at his team is, I mean, just the fact that Amon-Ra St. Brown was out this week, and it's funny to rely on Lions players to get you a lot of points, but at least somebody's scoring in Detroit this year. So for our third matchup of the week, let's move on over to Team Philly Special versus the official Kitten Mittens. And Michael's team took the victory this week by a score of 83-16 to 75-86. And even though Jonathan Taylor and Lamar Jackson were kind of off their game this week, Michael's team was still able to pull out the victory. And that was also in part due to A.J. Brown. Even in the rain, he was still a steady catch. A.J. Brown seems like he is the real deal. He's a real number one. He, I don't know how great he was in in Tennessee, but I can't imagine it was any better than he's doing in Philadelphia right now. And for
Yeah.
the official kit mittens, when you have a kicker with Evan McPherson scoring 11 points and being in your top three fantasy scores, that's just going to be a tough week to win a matchup.
Yeah. How frustrating is it for Marshall, who you've got one player left to play? It's your quarterback. And you really need 15 points from your quarterback, and you're going to beat the top person in our league. That's all you need. And 15 points from a quarterback, like that should be easy. That should you can go on the waiver wire right now, and the top like 8 is projected at least 15 points. You have Matthew Stafford, who just won the damn Super Bowl, and it doesn't pan out. He scores 6 points. Like that is just it's crazy frustrating. They don't even score a touchdown. Like that's so frustrating. I just couldn't imagine on that. And going back to Team Philly Special, this was their off week. This was their shit week, and they still got the job done. Going to your AJ Brown comment, I did not think he was very good in Tennessee. I really didn't. I thought when they had the trade, I was like, that's just kind of weird. I know he had a couple big plays, but if you look at his stats overall, he really wasn't like huge. Like he had some decent seasons, but he was never like huge. This is definitely, in my opinion, the best AJ Brown we've ever seen with the Eagles. And maybe there's a chip on his shoulder. Maybe it's just because the offense is so. I mean, there's just so many weapons on the offense, and it just moves so well. But yeah, I mean, that's huge. The AJ Brown pickup first round, that was huge. Having the Stephon Diggs as a keeper, Miles Sanders as a keeper, Jonathan Taylor as a keeper, Lamar Jackson as a keeper. He did really well with the keep players. He did really well with the draft, even though he auto drafted, but whatever. And even on his bench, he still has some good depth there. I mean, you have Brandon Cooks on the bench. If that comes through bye weeks, I mean, you could put him in there. He's going to be decently consistent. I mean, he's going to be just really tough to take down this week. I was intrigued that he put the Steelers defense in because I know it's the Jets that they were playing, but the Steelers have just had such a rough go at it. But that's still, I mean, that worked out for him. That benefited him. And then you look over to official kitten mittens. So here's what's going to be interesting. I believe Dak comes back. So does he start Matthew Stafford or does he start Dak? That's going to be very
No, you
interesting.
got to start Dak. You got to start Dak 110%. Dak Prescott. Matthew Stafford isn't much of a running threat. The Cowboys are clicking right now. If the Cowboys come in, Dak Prescott is 100%. If Dak Prescott comes in, he's 100% the start, in my opinion.
I hope he does start Dak because I've got two of his favorite weapons, and that would be a great matchup for me. Dalvin Cook, he's kind of been here and there a little bit. I mean, he's
A little bit injured.
now. Yeah. Chase Edmonds is going to be very interesting to see. I know he had a touchdown in 20 yards, and that's how he got those 8 points. By the way, I traded Chase Edmonds to him. See, already helping people out. Again, guys, just
Yeah,
helping people.
little theme
Very
here.
generous. Very, very generous. I just want everyone to have a good year, okay? Um, but you got Hollywood Brown, who's just been very reliable this year. Tyler Lockett with the Seahawks. Look, Geno Smith he's very, very consistent. He might not be the highest ceiling quarterback, but he's very consistent. Mark Andrews had another blunder week, but I mean, he could do anything any week, so it's kind of hard to tell. Khalil Herbert, though, he's ranked 9th at running back right now. He's doing very, very well. And this was a late round pick for Marshall, so I love this. DeAndre Hopkins, he's 6-game suspension. He's got 2 more games. He gets Hopkins back in there. He has Michael Thomas. He's got a lot of big receivers from like 3 or 4 years ago, but they still have a little bit left in the tank. So, he's got a lot of upside. He's got a lot of people who are going to be coming back from injury, starting, with 2 big receivers and a quarterback who's going to be coming back from injury. And then, of course, you have that Mo Alley Cox on the bench who, doesn't really do anything all year but had 20 points on the bench. And that's just got to be frustrating. I couldn't imagine that. But, he's still going to be someone who's to contend with. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I guarantee you, I don't think Chase Edmonds is going to be the guy. I think Raheem Mostert's going to get most of the carries and most of the love in the backfield. But, hey, with Tua going out, Chase Edmonds might be getting a lot more carries, and that might be a more reliable player. Who knows?
Yeah, who's their backup now? Teddy Bridgewater is their
Teddy Bridge,
quarterback now?
yeah.
I'm not really sure how he plays with different running backs, but when you get a different quarterback in there, it can definitely change up the play style. As far as these two teams' benches, it's full of players that you think might potentially win a game for you here and there, but it's almost
Yeah,
impossible to predict when they're going to start and do
100%.
well. For Team Philly Special, Zach Moss is 100% that candidate. If Devin Singletary goes out, you go, oh, Zach Moss, definitely
Yeah,
plug and play, especially if you need a spot flex starter. And Mo Alley Cox is the kind of guy where you go, he's a pretty solid tight end. I know he gets a lot of he can get some touchdowns every once in a while. And if you start him, he's going to get 9 yards and 3 catches. And if you put him on your bench, he's going to get 20.5 points like he did this week. So
Yeah.
with that matchup done, you got anything else to say about that one?
No, I mean, going back to Mo Cox, he hasn't even acquired 4 points going into no, he has 4.5 going into that last game combined. So I mean, he did have a nice upside, but again, it's more of a boomer bust player. So he's got so many boomer bust players. That's kind of what we were talking about earlier, where it could be all of a sudden he just blows you out of the water, or he just completely shits the bed. It could go one of either way, which I guess everyone could, but yeah,
Yeah, a lot of BS luck in fantasy.
yeah,
So so moving on to the matchup, which I was dubbing old money versus new money in the league. We have the money team finally succeeding a win to Team Suicide Pack, and Wes's team took this one 112 to 68 to 103.82. For the winning team, Team Suicide Pack, Kyler Murray is gaming up those points with 22.88 points. And the San Francisco defense put up a solid 22 points last night. And Debo Samuel, uh, he had the highlight play of the game, I'm pretty sure, besides Bobby Wagner tackling that streaker on the field. And he put
yeah,
up 17.7 points. For the money team, T. Higgins, 18.4 points. T. Higgins taking all the points from Jamar Chase. The the Bengals are a little bit in flux right now, but T. Higgins is doing real well right now. Saquon Barkley continues his revenge tour with 16.2 points, and Chris Olave right now, I'm thinking the value pick in the whole league right now has been Chris Olave, that the rookie wide receiver for New Orleans. I think as of right now, as far as value goes, Tyler has the number one value pick, and I think Chris Olave is that guy.
yeah. Chris Olave actually has the most playing time out of any wide receiver in the league right now. As in, like, percentage of snaps, he has more than any other player, wide receiver wise, in the league right now. And that just goes to show how much they're putting on him, even though he's a rookie right now. He's still just doing absolutely great numbers, and I just see he's going to get better and better and better. And think about it. 2 weeks ago, he had Winston throwing to him. This week, he's got Andy Dalton throwing to him. And he's just being able to just pick it up in stride. That's huge. I think he's really gonna, like you said, the value pick. I mean, that's huge.
That's pretty
Um,
impressive for a rookie wide receiver, especially with two mediocre quarterbacks giving back and forth playing time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, he put Derek Carr in this week over Aaron Rodgers. Really, both those quarterbacks are kind of having a time in fantasy. And really too. I guess honestly in the regular season as well. But it's going to be very interesting to see how he keeps going back and forth on that, and if he finally just gives up on one or the other. I don't know. Antonio Gibson had a down week, and you hate to see that on there. Barkley is still just incredibly reliable. Higgins and Cup were two of his other keepers that, again, I mean, they're consistent. I see a lot of great things on Higgins where he's kind of he doesn't get nearly as much credit as Jamar Chase does, but damn, he seems to always be able to get open. He's reliable. He's steady. Fryermuth did well as expected with whatever quarterback situation's happening there. Honestly, and I think it was pretty ballsy to put the Bengals defense in against Miami because Miami's offense was like ranked in the top five, but he still made points off that due to his injury on that. He's got Mostert on the bench, and that's somebody who he could put into a lineup if he needed to, especially in a bye week. He's got Noah Brown, who has routinely done very, very well.
Looks especially good with Cooper Rush.
Yeah, and so he's got a lot of decent guys on his bench that he can kind of sub in and out. He's got Matt Collins, who's had a couple good weeks. And then you go over to Team Suicide Pack, which he put that name in 2 years ago when he had a terrible season, and he was basically just like going downhill. Like he was like, oh man, we're just, tanking. And he hasn't changed it. He won last year, and his name was Team Suicide Pact. And I'm like, come on now, come on now. But hey, when you've got Christian McCaffrey on your team, who's very consistent, and by the way, I traded him Christian McCaffrey again. Look at me, just handing out all
You
these
love
picks.
trading Christian McCaffrey, man. You
I'm,
love trading Christian McCaffrey.
and look, I traded him Christian McCaffrey last year. He went to championship. That's all I'm saying. It's very interesting. I traded it to him earlier in the year, went to championship. This year, he's what is he? 2-1, 2-2, doing well. I mean, call it a coincidence. I don't know. But
Strong lineup and strong benches too for both of these squads.
absolutely. And, Kyler Murray's obviously doing well, like you said. Joe Mixon is very consistent last 2 years. Debo Samuel, that huge play. Curtis Samuel not doing as much. Washington's offense last two games have just been very subpar. Darren Waller is struggling with Derek Carr as well. Drake London, I believe, he's healthy. Okay, I was like, did he get an injury or something? But he had a down week after having three pretty solid weeks with it. And it'll be interesting to see how Atlanta's offense works because Mariota really doesn't throw that much, but they are winning games. They are doing okay. It'll be very interesting to see how that goes. Defensive pick of the week, though, is the 49ers with that. I mean, they just absolutely shut down the Rams, and Koo is always getting these random-ass field goals. He's the number one kicker, and I don't know why, but he's just. I feel like the
It's
Atlanta
great
Falcons.
having a mediocre offense that can't punch it into the end zone, and then their kicker gets a bunch of field goals for you.
Yeah,
That's a good strategy. You either want
absolutely.
to pick a guy on a really high scoring team or a guy who you think they're going to get close to they're going to get in the red zone and then they're not going to be able to finish. And Mariota just screams that to me.
Yeah, and okay, it was Traylon Burks who got hurt this year, or hurt yesterday or Sunday, but
Not
yeah,
AJ Brown.
that bench is just super, super, super thick. Rashad Penny having almost 30 points there. Damian Harris, who's doing great and will probably continue to do well since the Patriots they have Bailey Zapp at quarterback. AJ Dillon's definitely kind of taking the lead. Duvernay finally didn't have a touchdown this week, but still solid. And Romeo Dubes is it Dubes? I always say that wrong.
It's Dobbs.
Dobbs? Okay.
Yeah, it's Dobbs.
Still just being very consistent. So I expect nothing less of Team Suicide Pack. I know they're sitting at 2-2 right now, but they're easily going to be, I think, a playoff contender.
Yeah, both of these teams are going to be. And I just wanted to reach out to Tyler in sympathy because our teams create a very interesting love triangle with Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, and Devontae Adams. All three guys struggling because they don't know how to properly coexist or not coexist with each other. Aaron Rodgers, the minute he took that contract and didn't save any money for Devontae Adams, he screwed him over and forced Devontae Adams to be with Derek Carr. And Derek Carr just doesn't want to throw him the ball. So I
Yeah.
feel for you, Tyler, and hopefully we can find some way to get Derek Carr to start throwing the damn ball to Devontae because I think it'll help both of us.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, moving, I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting to see how that works out. Devontae Adams is just not getting the love that he used to. And I don't know if I really believe Derek Carr. He made that comment about being a Hall of Famer to another Hall of Famer, but so far it is not the case.
What else are you going to say? We'll move on to another couple Hall of Famers and Rickety Cricket versus the Gang Plays Fantasy. Kelsey finally got a win this week,
Everybody wins.
88-62 to 76.52. Nobody's going winless. Nobody's going to be the Lions or the Browns this year. And Kelsey got that win this week. Her leading scorers this week included the Lions quarterback Jared Goff. What an excellent start by Kelsey. Tom Brady be damned. And Travis Kelsey did his thing with 15 points. And another high scoring defense this week was Arizona with 13 points. For Thomas's team, DK Metcalf is starting to become his most reliable wide receiver. He almost had 15 points. And then after that, it kind of gets bleak with Kirk Cousins not even getting up to 13 points. I'm sorry, I recommended Kirk Cousins to him. I still think Kirk Cousins will bounce back a little bit here and there. And then Aaron Jones with almost 12 points. Aaron Jones will be solid. I think the Packers don't have enough weapons for anybody to really take stuff from Aaron Jones, but at this point, he's not the main runner anymore. It seems like A.J. Dillon is way better of a runner, and that Aaron Jones is going to have to settle for the scraps and on the side. But when your only two weapons are the running backs, I think he's still going to be a great producer for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Looking at Rickety Cricket's team, Jared Goff is one of those weird ass guys. He's in like the top five too, top five in fantasy, but top five in yards for quarterback. But it's funny because every single week he is projected more to bust than he is to boom, and he has busted 0 times this year and boomed twice. He's really been very, very consistent as quarterback play. James Conner is still doing James Conner shit, and he's just not consistent there. Melvin Gordon's got to go though. Okay. He has
He's the only running back on the team, and somehow you don't want to play him at all. You still don't want to play him at all.
Well, he's had all these terrible fumbles. He had a fumble for a touchdown last Sunday, and week 1 they were on the 1 yard line, and he fumbles the ball. I mean, and he's a great running back. He really is, but he just continues to have these really costly plays. I don't see the Denver. As soon as he fumbled that ball, Denver took him out, and they did not play him again. I do not see him starting or really coming into lineups. He's in the doghouse. I do not think he's a reliable play at all anymore. DJ Moore, again, Carolina with Baker Mayfield, you just can't trust it. Waddle is trustworthy. They obviously had a rough time with Tua. I think that's a reliable play there.
Yeah, I think that's just an off week for him.
Yeah, Rashad Bateman. It's hard to trust a Baltimore wide receiver right now too because like I don't know, Lamar Jackson's kind of tough with that. If he gets in a situation, he's not going to give it down the field. I feel like he's just going to take it, and you can't blame him. He's got just absolute great wheels on him.
Yeah, if he
Uh,
doesn't catch a 60-yard touchdown in the first half, he's not going to score any points in the second half. So
yeah, exactly.
another thing I want to point out is the injury luck on both of these teams is kind of funny and inverted. Kelsey has been dealing with running back injuries all year. Finally, she catches a break in a traditional fantasy sense where Melvin Gordon's counterpart goes down, and instead of actually putting up numbers for once, he goes negative. And on the
yeah,
other side, Thomas finally gets some production from a long-standing guy in Cordero Patterson, and then he goes down with an injury as well. So a lot of injuries, a lot of bad luck for these two teams, and I don't think it's going to get much better for either of them unless some changes are made.
well,
What do you think about Tyler Algier? I think you have some pretty interesting thoughts on him.
I think for right now, Tyler Algier, obviously being the rookie running back that he is, there's a lot of unknown. Um, with their offense and how it's set up, I think for the next 4 weeks, you put him in your starting lineup, especially Kelsey with how much injury she has at running back. She puts him in at running back in her lineup, and she leaves him there for the next few weeks. I think he's got a lot of upside. He might have a couple weeks where he totally busts, but I think he's going to. I think he's going to pan out. I really have good confidence in him. I think he's going to do well. That's going to be a little bit of a saving grace of finding somebody that you drafted that you kind of took a chance on. I think he will do okay. But yeah, going over that kind of connects with the Cordell Patterson thing. It really sucks for the Gang Plays Fantasy and Thomas. You have Aaron Jones, who's kind of an older running back, who's starting to come out. You have Patterson, who's an older guy who gets hurt. He's going to be out several weeks. You got your DK Metcalf, who started to put some points back up. Hopefully, he doesn't need to go to the bathroom anytime soon. And, Juju's older guy. He's putting in his lineup right there. Cam Akers still no upside because of how terrible the Rams' offense was as a whole. And that's going to be that's tough to ride. Jerry Jeudy, I understand why he benched him this week, just because Denver's offense has just been obsolete. But I think that's somebody you need to put in just because it's Jerry Jeudy and there's really high upside. I feel like with him just in any situation, Chuba Hubbard is somebody you just need to drop. I do not have any faith in him at all. I don't know why he's there. He needs to go away.
No,
Um,
he's either scored 0 points or negative points in almost every single game this season.
yeah, I mean, he's not, and even last year, and he's not even the second string running back for Carolina. He's the third. So I don't understand why he's there at all. DJ Chark has had an incredibly disappointing year, and I know he's had some injuries and stuff, but yeah. In fact, I believe that ESPN has given him an 11% chance to make the playoffs or something. Like he's got like an absurdly low chance of making the playoffs because just a lot of these guys are either hurt, they're out, or they're coming back. Oh, and I didn't realize that he has dropped Mac Jones from his team, which was one of his higher draft picks that he drafted in early on quarterback. So, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of decisions that need to be fixed here. A lot of things are going to have to change. Hey, Jerry Jeudy, by the way, is somebody who I traded to Thomas. And,
I
I
think that
really,
was for a second round pick.
yeah, this coming up, second round pick. And he could have played him. And you know what? If he would have played him, he would have won. He would have won. So,
Is there any more disappointing player in fantasy than Kyle Pitts these last 2 years? Any player in the entire NFL that has been more disappointing than Kyle Pitts?
I thought he had some upside last year. Did he not have any upside last year? I thought he had some upside.
He scored one touchdown all of last year. I think he had over 1,000 yards, but like his production was just. I mean, if you're not scoring touchdowns, especially in this league where you don't get credit for receptions, I mean, so what if you're getting 1,000 yards in the season? It wasn't spread out evenly. He wasn't a consistent week to week producer. And personally, because of how much I hyped up Kyle Pitts to him last year, I just feel personally responsible. And I am disappointed in no one more than I am disappointed in Kyle Pitts.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And I mean, we all have that player that we kind of invest into, and then when they don't pan out, we just get so damn sour on it. Just nope, not doing it.
I
Mm-mm.
still think he's a keeper for him, though. All right, let's move on to this last matchup here. Fat Mac versus Boy Soul. Boy Soul took the win 93.28 to 70.46. For Boy Soul, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is having another great year, another player you traded away who's having a great time contributing to a bunch of wins with 21.4 points for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Joe Burr had 20 points this week, and the New York Giants defense also helped lead the way with 15 points. On the other side, Fat Mac, Justin Jefferson, like we predicted last year. Obviously, he's a top wide receiver in the league. He bounced back, 21 points. But it really shows for Josh this week that Jalen Hurts, even though he got the win, Jalen Hurts showed everything this week, and this week made me love him more as a quarterback. But with those sloppy conditions in Philadelphia and all that rain, he was only able to put up 16 points. And then Ezekiel Elliott, even though he's at this point, we could pretty much all agree that he's cooked. He's still a useful body in fantasy, especially with how shallow the running back position is, and he put up 8.1 points. Alexander Madison, even with Dalvin Cook being injured this week and actually ending up playing, was still able to put up 7.8 points. But for the rest of the team, Jamar Chase only put up 8 points. Michael Pittman wasn't able to put up the same kind of points he did in the beginning of the year. And that vaunted Buccaneers defense had a negative score against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, for Josh, you know, when DeAndre Swift gets healthy, that's going to help out and that's going to get things a little bit back on par. But his running back depth is awful. And that's something he's really going to need to look to make a deal. Hey, look, I've got running backs. But yeah, that's something that's really going to need to change. Ezekiel Elliott is an old man who's about, he's on his last ride, in my opinion. I don't have zero faith. He's good for this year, and that's it. And so with that being said, he really doesn't have a lot of value, in my opinion. Alexander Madison's got some upside because I think Dalvin Cook is just religiously hurt. And Jalen Hurts is one of, if not one of the best quarterbacks to have in fantasy. And, of course, on the flip side of that, receiver-wise, damn, he is thick in depth. I mean, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Michael Pittman. I know we do this every single week, just how many good receivers he's got right there.
Does he have fake depth, though? Does he have fake good wide receiver depth? Because Chase Claypool, did you see that play this week where he went up for the ball and just was totally destroyed by a wide receiver who was just like 6, 7 inches shorter than him? And I don't know, Julio Jones has been hurt. I still like his depth, but I got a feeling that Josh's wide receiver depth may be fake. With Michael Pittman as an Indianapolis Colt, I mean, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, it doesn't get better than that, but I think the depth maybe is lacking.
I think Allen Robinson is what I would consider depth, but Chase Claypool and Julio Jones, I don't consider those necessarily depth in my opinion, just because Claypool hasn't done anything relevant in years, and Julio Jones, it's same deal, honestly. But I mean, still, with you look at you look at Jefferson, Chase, and Pittman and Robinson. Those are four wide receivers that, in my opinion, you're typically going to get a lot of high production value. And to be four deep and good receivers in this league, I think is also pretty hard to do as well. So, I mean, there's some good there. George Kittle, hopefully he can come and rise out of the grave, but he's
Not going to.
trouble. Yeah, I don't know. He's in a little bit of trouble.
He's a solid contributor to a winning team, but as far as fantasy players, he's not that much anymore. But let's get over to the winner. Let's get over to Jack's team.
So
Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette, coming out of the shadow of Ronald Jones a few years ago, Leonard Fournette has been nothing but great ever since he's been back on a winning team. He put up 11.4 points this week. Terry McLaurin, I love. Terry McLaurin is one of my favorite players in the league. I know that he is a commander, and I know he didn't put up a lot of points this week, but I still love Terry McLaurin going forward. It'll be interesting to see how George Pickens goes with Kenny Pickett. I think they had a lot of chemistry, if I'm not wrong, in the preseason, and he put up 10 points this week. And as much as Logan Thomas and Tony Pollard did not perform this week, I still like both of those players, and I think they have potential going forward. And I think if the Washington offense starts catching fire, Logan Thomas is a big body in the red zone. He's good for a lot of potential touchdowns in the red zone, kind of like a Zach Ertz kind of deal, kind of like how Carson Wentz would be with Zach Ertz previously. And Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, I think that's a toss-up. I think that's a worse decision of trying to go between Chubb a couple years ago and Kareem Hunt, where you just don't know who's going to get the points every week.
Mm-hmm.
J.K. Dobbins, a huge on the bench with 18.3 points. He's another one of those guys who you can't really trust. And from what I saw yesterday, Jeff Wilson Jr., as long as he doesn't get hurt in a couple weeks, he looks like he's a legitimate start at running back.
Yeah, actually, really going into depth here, Jack's team's got some damn depth. I mean, his lead scorer, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which again, as you pointed out, I traded him. I helped him. That's all I do is I just help out all these teams. That's all I do.
You're a very generous guy. You're a very generous trade master.
I'm very, very generous. And all I do is try to help everybody out. So, guys, next couple weeks, it's going to get.
Totally selfless.
Some of you guys are going to sit there and be like, what do I do? How do I fix my team? Look, come to me. I will do everything in my power to just help you, help me, to help you. And yeah,
Or trade for Najee Harris.
yeah, maybe. But yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire right there, obviously leading that. He's been a lot more consistent this year than he has been in years past, and that's cool to see. I hope that continues. Logan Thomas, to me, I know you talked about how much you liked him before. I still think he's kind of boomer bust, and a lot of tight ends are, so I mean that's pretty fair to say. George Pickens, that's going to be an interesting one to see moving forward. And Leonard Fournette, that was one of his keepers. I'd be curious to see how that works out. I don't. With Tampa Bay, I always feel like it's interesting. I feel like everyone always gets hurt or something. So it'll be, right now he's doing good. And
I love Leonard Fournette. I love him.
Dobbins, back 2 years ago when he was regularly playing, he did great. But it's always going to be interesting to see his point production due to Lamar Jackson. So that'll be a tight one. Having the Bills defense on your bench, in my opinion, is great. They are the number 1 ranked defense, and so I think that's a great play. And starting the Giants against Chicago was a very, very smart move. Having Rondale Moore, Hunter Renfrow, and Mecole Hardman on your bench, I think is solid as well because obviously combined they had 1.1 points. However, there's a lot of upside. Hunter Renfrow is hurt this week. Mecole Hardman's always a possible, and Rondale Moore is that deep guy. In my opinion, he's very similar to Robbie Anderson, where like he either catches a 60-yard touchdown or he doesn't do shit. But like,
or maybe a better one would maybe be John Brown. You and I both love John Brown.
Yes.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. So, depth-wise, this team is stacked. Joe Burrow is starting to do Joe Burrow things again. He's got Justin Tucker, which is the best kicker in the league. So, yeah.
Of all time.
Yeah.
Arguably of all time. I think almost.
Jackson,
besides, yeah.
Yeah, Jackson's a situation where I know he's only 3-1. We still have another 4-0 team, but Jack's pretty damn loaded. I think Jack is definitely going to be spearheading the West Division, and the East. It's obviously going to be Team Philly special, but I think those are our 2 front runners for a championship game this year.
Lot of disrespect for the wild card bitches this week, huh?
Look,
a little upset that you were a second place scorer.
Yeah, I'm a little bitter, but also too, look, he has the most wins in our league's history. He absolutely does. JJ, there's nobody who has as many wins as he does, but he hasn't gotten that chip yet, and he hasn't gotten that chip. And I have my doubts. There's another league that he's in with my brother and all their Louisiana friends, and they always ride him because he hasn't won it yet. And like my brother's won it twice, and I think his wife has won it once. And like there are people who like aren't really like playing often, but they just kind of like Jason runs it, and they just kind of throw in people, and they don't really touch their lineups or look at it for a while. And JJ just cannot win that. And they have this trophy with all these names on it, and JJ's name's not on there.
All right. So let's get into some other kind of topics. What do you think about – I think we should go over each team and see real quick and see which team you would keep, what 4 keepers you would keep at this point in the league. I think maybe this is something we could keep doing throughout the year. But let's start with that first matchup again. Wild card bitches. Who do you think JJ's 4 keepers should be so far?
Oof. Josh Jacobs is not getting renewed at Las Vegas, so I think he's out. Josh Allen is in. I think Eckler is in. I think Tyreek Hill is in. So that gives me 3 at this time. And for 4, I don't know. I would say James Robinson. Right now is my 4th person that I'm adding in.
Honestly, for me, I think I'd go Josh Allen, Austin Eckler, Tyreek Hill, and then I'm going to go wild card here and say Jahan Dotson by the end of the year is his 4th
fair.
keeper.
No, that was literally like my 5th guy, so I think that's completely fair. Looking at your team, it's a little bit easier. Obviously, I think we got Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams are definitely your 2 right there. But moving on past that, I say maybe I think Najee Harris is going to be there no matter what. And I'm going to be honest with you. You got to get off Devontae Smith, and either it needs to be Justin Herbert or Amari Cooper at this time.
Yeah, I'm also trying to look at Brian Robinson long term. I'm hoping that he can rebound from that horrific incident, and if he can live up to all the hype. Antonio Gibson, he hasn't been a stud this year, but he has still been about as consistent as he's been the past few years. If Brian Robinson was projected to be the starter above him before the season starts, I'm really hoping that he can turn out to be even more than that.
Yeah. But I mean, you have three no matter what, and then your fourth one kind of is, which is nice. I think it's nice to have three people that you know you're going to keep, and then there's that one who's like, it could be whoever plays the best at the end of the season. You get it, and I think that's a good situation to be in.
All right, let's move on to Pepe Silvia's team. I think his four keepers right now are Patrick Mahomes, Alvin Kamara. Even though he's hurt, I'm going to say Javante Williams, and then I'm going to finish off with Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Um, I agree. I with Javante Williams getting hurt. I think maybe possible. I don't know. I know Jamal Williams has had some years in there, but also it'd be interesting to see how Kenneth Walker does. If he increases some production, they had a lot of hype at him at the beginning of the season, but he could sneak in there. But I agree with you right now for those four starters. Absolutely.
All right, your team. Who are your four people?
Oof. Well, we got to have the number one rushing running back in the league, Nick Chubb. CeeDee Lamb, Nick Chubb, Damian Pierce. And then the fourth one, as of right now, I'm probably going to do Breece Hall, but it's really tight between Breece Hall, Kareem Hunt, or Mike Evans.
Yeah, I think looking over real quick, I'm going to go with Nick Chubb, Damian Pierce, Brees Hall. I'm going to go with Mike Evans over CeeDee Lamb.
I don't
I
like Mike
just,
Evans as a keeper because he's had a decade in the NFL so far, and he's been great. But longevity-wise, CeeDee Lamb's only had a few years. I think he's got a lot more longevity, and Mike Evans is, in 2 or 3 years, I don't know if he still plays.
no, I can understand that. I think Mike Evans, as long as he has somebody who's going to want him to throw the ball, like who's going to be able to throw the ball, if Brady's going to stick around another year, I don't, it doesn't matter how good Brady is. Mike Evans is going to be able to put up points, and he's going to be the number one target. But I think either one of those guys, they're going to be drafted around the same place anyway. So I think it's kind of like picking between the same guy at that point. But your team is all about those young running backs.
Yeah, all that youth.
All right, moving over to Team Philly Special. I think his four keepers are going to be Lamar Jackson, Jonathan Taylor. As of right now, I'm still going to put him as a keeper. And then I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs and A.J. Brown because as much as I love Miles Sanders and he had a huge week, I just, with the amount of weapons Philly has on their offense and how much they neglect Miles Sanders typically, they ran him a lot this week because they couldn't throw the ball very well because of the weather. Trevor Lawrence had I don't know how many fumbles. He had like 3 or 4 fumbles this week. People were dropping the balls left and right. I think Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Lamar Jackson, and Jonathan Taylor are the four keepers there. Easy.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100% because it really comes down to Lamar Jackson, Jonathan Taylor, and Stephon Diggs are locks. So then you look at it's either Miles Sanders or A.J. Brown. And as of right now, you don't even know because it's still question whether they're really going to keep his fifth year, right? Miles Sanders?
He wasn't a first round pick, so he doesn't have a fifth year.
Excuse me then. But yeah, I just
I don't know if it. I think he may still have a year. I'm not sure where his contract is, but he doesn't. He was a second round pick.
okay. Even between the two, you have to weigh those two out. I still say A.J. Brown no matter what on that. I agree.
Yeah, as an Eagles fan, I say A.J. Brown 100%. Official kitten mittens. Who do you think?
Oof. I'm going to go Dalvin Cook is obviously a lock right there. Mark Andrews is your second lock. DeAndre Hopkins, I think, is going to be your third.
A lot of different options for Marshall here.
I guess he kept Dak, so I think he would keep Dak again, but I don't know if I'd keep Dak. I guess Dak. Yeah, I guess Dak. I don't know. He might go
Depending,
Khalil Herbert because he's a Virginia Tech guy and he's had a stellar season so far, but I don't know.
as of right now, I'm going to put a little more weight into that running back position, and I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook. I think Mark Andrews is in that top 3 or 4 tight ends,
Mm-hmm.
and beyond those 3 or 4 tight ends, at the very top, the Kelsey, the Mark Andrews. Am I missing somebody here? Is somebody else put up as consistent as they do? I know Mark Andrews didn't have a ton of points this week, but he had 20 last week. So I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook. I'm going to go with Mark Andrews, DeAndre Hopkins, and then let's go with Devin Singletary. I don't think he's going to fall off after this year. And the Bills look strong. I think they're going to be good for a couple of years, and I'm willing to bet on good teams and a position of need in running back.
Yeah, I don't like Devin Singletary personally. I just don't think he has a lot of good upside. He's kind of consistent 5 points, and I don't think that's great. But I can understand just longevity-wise that he's probably a better pick.
I'm looking more at the position there too, but I understand your hesitations about him. I've personally never been a huge fan either.
Yeah. And then we got to the money team here. Who do you got for that? Because that's kind of, I mean, there's 2 locks, obviously, 3 locks with Barkley, Higgins.
Team right now.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
we're
Olave.
going to go Cooper Cup, Saquon Barkley, and
T. Higgins and Olave.
Chris Olave. Let's go with Chris Olave and T. Higgins because
Yeah,
if Antonio Gibson's going to be fighting for carries with Brian Robinson, I think we should go Barkley, Higgins, Cup, and Olave.
I agree. And then you look over to Suicide Pack. We got, Kyler Murray, I think, is got to be a keep. Joe Mixon, Christian McCaffrey, and Debo. I mean, those 4 right there, I think, are going to be your keepers.
I agree. I think you just go down right the first 4 people on the team, and I think it's an easy 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep, absolutely. And then going to Rickety Cricket.
This is where it starts to get a little tougher.
Well, you got Waddle, Kelsey. You got those 2. Maybe Elijah Mitchell if he comes back and he's doing Elijah Mitchell things, and maybe David Montgomery if he comes back and he's doing David Montgomery things. But I mean, Algier might be in there by the end of the year, but that's rough.
I think I'm going to go with Travis Kelsey, Jalen Waddle. I'm going to say James Conner because getting a starting caliber running back like that is going to be hard no matter what. And then my 4th pick, I'm going to go with DJ Moore, assuming that Baker Mayfield is no longer the quarterback, and they're going to find a way for him to bounce back. I think that DJ Moore. I'm going to go with DJ Moore. I'm going to go with DJ Moore as number 4.
No, never believe in any Carolina receiver anymore. No. The gang plays fantasy. I mean, I guess you go Aaron Jones. I guess you go Cam Akers. I don't know.
No, you can't go Cam Akers.
I'm gonna do Cam Akers, Jerry Jeudy, DK Metcalf, and Aaron Jones. That's it.
I'm gonna go Aaron Jones, Cordero Patterson, DK Metcalf, and I'm just riding Kyle Pitts into the grave. Tight end, get a quarterback in next year. I feel like Mariota's a stopgap. Get a quarterback in next year who actually knows to throw to his best player. Let's keep Kyle Pitts. That's what I'm saying.
That's gonna be tough. And then
I could totally be wrong, but what else do you have to lose except another entire season?
Yeah,
a guy getting you nothing every week.
Honestly. And then our final 2 teams, Fat Matt. I think this year, if he doesn't keep Jalen Hurts, I'll be surprised. In my opinion, he needs to go Jalen Hurts, Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and DeAndre Swift.
Agreed. And for Boy Soul, I'm going to go with Leonard Fournette, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Pickens, and Pollard.
I don't keep Pollard. I say McLaurin and Pickens. I think I'm high on Pickens.
I think that's fair enough. I think it'll be interesting to see which one of those, or either, if the Dallas running backs are really hot going into next year.
Yeah, and then for our final segment on this that we're looking at is what players to choose from going into if you're on the waiver and you're looking for some players on there. If you're hurting at QB, looks like for your options, you've got Justin Fields, you got Matt Ryan, Tannehill, Geno Smith, and that's who probably I'm looking at right now. Geno Smith has been very consistent. He's had good numbers. Jimmy Garoppolo has potential, but you never really know with him. I have no faith in Zach Wilson at all. I think it's too early for Kenny Pickett. And long game, Deshaun Watson. If you are unsure at quarterback and you're really trying to figure out something, Deshaun Watson could be a player to pick. Oh, wait, let's see. I need a quarterback. Maybe that might be a good pick. But Deshaun Watson, I think, is somebody who you could look at, down the road.
That all sounds good to me. I'm going to ride with Justin Herbert with no matter how many ribs he breaks.
Yeah. And then if you're looking at running backs, Rashad White's obviously a good pick right there. Samaje Perine could be, depending on what happens with Mixon. Dante Foreman. So that is the second string running back for Carolina. So I don't know why Chubb Hubbard is on any kind of team at all. Jaylen Warren has done well as a backup. I know obviously the running game at Pittsburgh's been awful, but Warren's gotten a decent amount of snaps. And Zamir White is a rookie running back that has a lot of potential upside. So I would look at him as well. And then looking at let's see, who is the running back for Denver who just got hurt that everybody is posting about? I actually don't see him on here. Maybe he's already on the team. I thought I saw him on here earlier, but I don't. Yeah, I don't see him coming up here. But look at definitely some Denver running backs that could be a stopgap for a little bit, especially, well, actually, maybe even, oh, Mike Boone. Here it is, Mike Boone. Mike Boone is a potential for sure to go in there because Melvin Gordon, I don't think is going to be consistent, or I don't think they really want him in there as much. Then you go to receiver. You got Russell Gage. You got Jarvis Landry. Gallup is starting to get back in. Marvin Jones Jr. is starting to get back in. I like Isaiah McKenzie down the road too. I think he's got a lot of potential. Josh,
I agree with that one. Yeah.
yeah, I started Josh.
Josh Reynolds as well.
Yeah, I started him in another league, and that really actually helped me get over the fence on somebody. Yeah, I mean, you got Corey Davis too, who's got some potential. AJ Green's hurt, but that's always a decent stop guy person. And you go over to tight end here. You really have a lot of good tight ends here. So if you have, or you're questioning, or you really need to figure something out, Taysom Hill is an excellent one to put in there. Gesicki's really good if you're not Dan. Tyler Conklin's good. Noah Fant's decent. I think there's a lot of decent potential.
Will Disley's back from the dead. You remember a couple of years ago, Will Disley was putting up touchdowns like 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row.
And then
He's starting to
right.
do that. I'm pretty sure he had a big knee injury or something. I think he scored a touchdown the last 2 weeks. Will Disley, go for Will Disley. If you
Yeah.
need a tight end, I'm saying pick up Will Disley, or else I'm going to.
Defenses are kind of a dime a dozen. We got like multiple top 10 defenses available on the bench, so a lot of good guys go through and pick up on that. But no, I mean that's gonna be some solid waiver pickups. It'll be interesting to see who lands where this week.
Yeah, and if you don't know what kicker to pick up, I think the Eagles' potential backup for Jake Elliott, his last name is Dicker, so that's kind of funny. Kicker the Dicker, Dicker the kicker. So if you don't have anything else, I think that's all we got. Is that it?
I think that's it, man. I think that's gonna wrap up week 4 for us. And on to week 5. Good luck to everybody except for Marshall. And we'll just have to see what's cooking this week.
All right, that's all we got for you in the party mansion. Let's hand out some vascular flyers, and we'll see you jabronis week 5.